Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at an entirely new brand on the product, and it's one that may be better identified by another brand that kind of owns this brand. Anyway, without getting too confusing, today we're taking a look at two pieces of EDC gear. Technically both knives, one's a little different than that, but from a company called Olight, a company that they kind of created within that company called O-Knife, and this is the O-Knife Parrot. We're going to go O-Knife, but it is technically under the Olight branding from my understanding, because you go to the Olight website to get to O-Knife. So yeah, a lot going on there. Don't worry, this is going to be linked below, along with the other piece of EDC gear that you definitely want to stick around for. We're going to cover it at the end of this review as kind of a little bonus coverage. Very interesting, has some flaws, but it's very intriguing. But first, we're going to take a look at this guy right here. This is a big, little, wide front flipper. Now, what do I mean by big and little? Well, it feels big in the hand, but it's a little knife. It's got some real positives to it. Before we get into all that, though, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 6.3 inches, a blade length coming in at 2.6 inches, and a blade material of 154 cm with a blade style of kind of like a sheep's footy drop point style blade, a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 3.7 inches with a handle thickness that's hovering right there around 500 thousandths, right around a ½ inch. We have a handle material of micarta, and there's also an option for a G10 handle as well. We have a liner lock locking mechanism with the user of a right hand only tip-up carry, designed by Gage, who, from my recollection, used to design for Kaiser. So a pretty renowned designer, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but I believe he was the designer of the Kaiser Genie, if I remember right. If not the Genie, he definitely has some other designs through Kaiser. So he's a pretty well-known designer, and a price of this guy coming in at $79.95, but you can get 10% off this with the code WSW000. I will, of course, have all that information linked below in this description as well, if it's a knife that you would like to pick up for yourself. But that'll save you 10% off, so instead of paying 80 bucks, you're looking more around $72. So 72 bucks, that puts it in the Kaiser category. So we're going to keep that into consideration as we go through this review. But now let's take a look at some size comparisons and just take a look at what we have here in terms of overall length and size. We'll start off with the CJRB Milea, a much smaller knife, but it's weird when you have these knives closed. It's hard to even describe. This is a knife that, while it is small, it is kind of has its own way of being a bit big. And here we have the Microtech Exocet, and let's put it this way. And as you can see there, still bigger than the Exocet as well. So I have two other knives that, in my opinion, are the two best comparisons for this knife, at least what I have in my collection. And this here is the Kaiser Mini Sheepdog. You probably knew this one was coming. As you can see, very close there. And then, of course, the Crkt Pilar. This is basically a kind of a GOAT fifth pocket knife, in my opinion. Two excellent knives there. With an okay knife in the middle. Got a lot to say about this knife. There's some things that I would like to see changed, refined with it. But what you have here is a hand-filling knife. This is a small knife that I think people with big hands are going to appreciate a lot more than most other small knives. That nice wide handle, but this blade in general, this blade kind of reminds me kind of the Urban EDC Vox F5.5, kind of like a budget version of that. It's a pretty nice little blade at the end of the day. I mean, it's got an edge reading, I believe, coming in right around 17, 18 thousandths. So it's thin, it's slicey, it's got that full flat grind, and it's 154 cm, so it's a pretty good steel. At the end of the day, it's going to carry out any task pretty darn well for you. It's got some nice jimping up here on the spine that feels pretty good. Wouldn't mind it being a little extra grippy, but it does work as is. And then you also have this very nice choilish area here that I'm personally a very big fan of. And they worked it in there really nice to where it's not, it doesn't stand out. It's not something you even see right away, but when you get it in hand, this is just exactly where my hand wants to hold this, and it feels really pretty good. In terms of ergos, the ergos really are elevated by that. But there is one issue with this blade that kind of really bothers me. And it's a combination of blade branding. What you have is the designer, and I'm assuming that's maybe the knife part number, something like that. But the designer, the knife name, the brand, and the blade steel. And it's just really kind of scattered on the blade. I mean, they both kind of have their positions, but when you close it, the O knife is just kind of randomly off-centered with the curve of the handle. I just feel like there could be better placement, better positioning of the blade branding, maybe a little less, maybe group them together. That would be really appreciated. I could really do without this O knife branding altogether. This kind of looks, to me, this O knife branding here, it represents a toy more than a knife. And I'm getting a little nitpicky, but you know, it's what I do. I mean, I personally don't like it. I would like to see that changed. And it's kind of a shame because this is a pretty decent knife overall. But this just really brings the appearance and the aesthetics of the knife down with off-centered brandings, and things of that nature when there's so many other companies doing it really good. So worth mentioning. But the blade itself, in terms of sliciness, it's good. In terms of just overall blade shape, I really like how the blade shape works with the handle, and that gives some pretty favorable aesthetics overall. And then moving into the handle and ergos, like I said, the ergos are really, they're pretty darn good with this. I like the combination of width and minimal length and the choil and just how it all fits in your hand. It really is very nice. The line and lock access is very easy to get to, and there's some good jimping. You go back here to the pocket clip, and I really do like this pocket clip on this knife a whole lot. Screws are fully recessed, so no issue there at all with that. I like the width of the pocket clip. It kind of helps. You know, you feel the pocket clip in hand, but there's no hot spot. It carries really well, carries deep enough for me. And because it is a rather short handle, when you got this guy in the pocket, you're only seeing this much. And there's not, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's obviously some knife in your pocket, but it just rides in the pocket really well, goes into the pocket really well. Everything totally good to go on those accounts. When it gets into the handle material, that's where I have a little issue here as well. Because it is micarta. I think a lot of us are fans of some good micarta, so no real issue there. But this is not necessarily good micarta. It's very much just okay micarta. It's a little too fuzzy for me. Now, will this patina over in time and look okay? It could, but it really ultimately comes down to the overall quality of the micarta, and you won't know that until you carry it a long time and it starts to wear down. And you know, does it either shine up and patina over real nice, or does it start to crumble and get a little degrading and get nasty? We don't know that. I don't know where this micarta came from. So that kind of leaves me asking some other questions. And what's really tough right now is a knife this price range going up against knives like Kaiser and well, primarily Kaiser, but who are using some really good micarta coming right out of the box, and it just holds up really well. It looks and feels great. This is not that. It's not that, and it's very important to know. But that is the one drawback with the handle of this knife, is I'm not a big fan of this micarta. I like the micarta option. I want to see a little more, little better quality micarta. You can even see in the picture here, it's a little fuzzy and furry on the outside up here. Not ideal. It's something we used to see in the industry a lot more commonly, you know, a year and a half ago. Nowadays, a lot of the micarta come out of the box is in really good shape. So, yeah, kind of an important thing to know there. But outside of that, in terms of just ergos, like I said, it is really good. It feels good, and I think a lot of people would appreciate how this feels in hand. Now, once you get into that liner lock and break that lock, you have some very, very good action. pretty enjoyable action, actually. Dare I say it, it does kind of remind me of like the Kaiser action on this mini Sheepdog here. Not quite this level. The detents are very different. I don't want to get too twisted. But yeah, my mini Sheepdog, it shakes shut very well, and it really just pretty much falls shut. You just have to change the angle of the knife and how you're holding it in your hand. And the same for this Parrot. It maybe not quite as smooth. So I'm not saying it's exactly as good as Kaiser, because it's not, but it's very good. It's up there. In terms of action, it's very much up there, and I do have pretty much no issue with the action whatsoever. Now, in terms of the front flipper, you do kind of have to get used to this, because it requires a little more downward push as compared to backwards push. And you can front flip this. It just takes... maybe, not even quite that much. It's actually set up pretty well for just a regular front flip. But if you use the top of this, you do, instead of just pulling back, because you might slide off the flipper tab, you have to kind of go down and whip it. And it's a pretty good action. Once you get it figured out, you really can. There's two ways of front flipping this knife. Well, there's the regular front flip where you're actually using the front portion of the flipper, and that works very well. And then you also are basically top flipping it. And when you top flip, it does take a little more downward pressure. Instead of going straight back, you're going down like this to pop that blade out. And that works very well also. So 2 different ways to deploy it there. Is it reach around approved? Yeah, I guess, yeah, we will say it's reach around approved. Yeah, definitely. Just takes a little getting used to because of the overall shape and design of this front flipper tab, which I do like. And it doesn't seem like it's that different from other knives with front flippers, but it really is. It gives you a couple different positions of deploying the blade, and I really do enjoy that as well. So overall, solid action. The issues I have with this are the blade branding really needs to be addressed and looked at, changed somehow, because that really does take away, that really hurts the aesthetics, especially this big O-Knife logo here kind of right in the middle, and then when you close it, it's kind of off-centered. Don't really like the way that looks at all. But the overall blade shape and blade design is very nice. And then when it comes to the handle, pretty much everything on the handle is a win for me as well. It just, I'd like to see a little better finish on the micarta. It's a little too rough and fuzzy for me in terms of just the competition and what you get right now. It's not quite up to par. The knife as a whole, is it okay at that $72 price tag? Because of course you're probably going to be using my discount code if you get this. So $72. You know, is it the best option at $72? No. But is it an okay option at $72? Yeah, I do. I do think it is. But it all comes down to, are you okay with this type of blade branding? And are you okay with a little not perfect in terms of quality, a little lesser quality micarta? That's what it comes down to. But if you really do like this short, kind of wide, stubby handle and this sheep's footy drop point style blade, and you like good front flipping action, it's not a bad option at all. It really is a decent knife. Could just use a little refinement. So that is the O-Life Parrot. And we will stick this just off to the side here for a second. And we will take a look at this other piece of EDC gear that has a lot of potential, but I got some real issues with it. This here is the Nightclaw Edc Knife from O-Knife. What we have here is an overall length of 3.14 inches from the end of this little rat tail thingy here to the end of the blade. So 3.14 inches there. We have a blade length just under an inch at 920 thousandths. So, you know, 0.92 inches for those that don't speak thousandths. We have a handle length at 2.2 inches with a diameter from left to right of 1.58 inches, a handle thickness at 450 thousandths, D2 blade steel, G10 handle material, and a price that is really, I don't have a big issue with this price, but I have an issue with a lot of other things. So the price is $29.95. You use my discount code, you save $3. You're looking at $27 for this. Now, just for kind of like the convenience and size and fidget factor, because this has a pretty fun little action once you get used to it. A very kind of intriguing, just addictive fidget factor. And that's what I really like about it. And obviously the blade, you know what? I even got some paper here real quick. Let me pull a piece of paper out, and we'll run this little D2 blade through the test here. Let's see. Yep. Sharp enough. You know, it's not a laser beam, but it cuts plenty good enough. So a nice little edge on the blade. Because this is definitely going to be just more of a little utility knife, right? I mean, we don't expect this to be anything too crazy, too shockingly good. But here's my issues with it. I first want to say I absolutely love this idea. I love the concept of what Olight was trying to do here. I just think it needs a lot of work, because right now what you have here is something that looks like a Christmas ornament. Pretty much a Christmas ornament, or maybe even something that you would get in the bottom of a cereal box, like way back in the day when there wasn't a bunch of stupid knife laws, and, you know, maybe you could put something like this in something, but it just looks like anything but a piece of attractive EDC gear. It looks, all due respect to whoever designed this, it looks extremely cheesy. But again, I want to really hit on the point that I love this idea. I like what they have going in terms of the concept. Now what they need to do is really refine it. The gem in the middle thing, just make it a button. Just make it a regular button. And then I understand why they have the Olight symbol here, because that's kind of like an extra little safety to keep from pushing the button down, right? Because if these weren't here, then it could, in your pocket, kind of become open. So I get all this. Just make it black on black, or maybe black and gray, a little more neutral color mixture there. This thing up here needs to just go. It actually comes with a lanyard, so we'll take a quick look at this is the packaging for this thing. And I will say this too for Olight. They have some fantastic packaging, very secure packaging that's going to protect your product, so you don't have to worry about it coming to you crushed. And I really do appreciate that a whole lot. So here's the box. It comes in this. You flip this open, there's where your Nightclaw would be, and then right in here, it also comes with a lanyard and a lanyard bead, which, again, my thing. I'm not the best person you want to ask about thoughts when it comes to a lanyard, because I don't like this. I'm not a big fan of the lanyard. Let me know in the comments, would you carry this with a lanyard and a bead or without? Because my whole thing, this is like stuck here in the bottom, going crazy here trying to get this thing out. There we go. Okay, so now we have our lanyard bead and we have our piece of paracord. So you can put that together and it'll fit on there just fine. I am struggling today. There we go. So we got our paracord, our lanyard bead. This would go on right here. My whole thing is I want this gone, and I want to carry this in my pocket like a coin. That's what I see with this. I think it would work a lot better with the coin, because then if you tie the lanyard and the bead on it, you still got to carry it in your pocket, and it's just going to take up more room in your pocket. So I am in love with this idea, but get rid of the lanyard and the bead. Get rid of this. Kind of get rid of that little gem thing in the middle. Just make it a regular button with a little more dimmed down color going on, and leave it just like this, and then you got something. And again, that's a little unnecessary. We don't need that there either. But overall, it really is a cool idea, and it's very fidgety. It has a good blade on it. I could see something like this being very, very useful. Like, I could easily see myself using this on a day-to-day basis, and it would be a perfect little fifth pocket carry, because it would just fit in that fifth pocket there. You carry your other knife as your primary blade, and you really have something going there. So I really hope Olight takes my recommendations to heart, because an improved version of this, I'm 100% buying and carrying, because I think it's a great idea. But as is, like I said, I don't want to carry around something that looks like a cereal box gift or a Christmas ornament. So I'm not too much into this, but I really hope to see another edition of this, because I think it has a lot of potential. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think of this too. Let me know if I'm being too harsh, but I love the concept, but I can't be fully on board with the actual finished product. It's not my thing, and I think a lot of people may agree with me, but let me know. Let me know if I'm out of line or if I'm right here. And then also the O-Knife Parrot, which is in a lot better shape and more of a good-to-go condition as is, as long as you don't mind the branding in the micarta. But there you go, guys. Two pieces of very interesting blades from Knife/Olight. Let me know what you think of that. It's all going to be linked below with codes to get your discounts if you want to pick one up. But let me know. I really hope you enjoyed this. I'm really excited to see what Knife does from here because I think they have a lot of potential. They're just getting their feet wet in the industry and really excited to see what they do moving forward. And hopefully we'll get some Olights on here because I love a good flashlight too. So maybe we'll see some Olights here in the future on Wayne Sharp World. Let me know what you guys think of this. I really hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.